Hello. Oh, yeah. We're back for some fun, some very toxic fun. Hello, hello. We are back with more Kenzie text. I know it's been a while. We're still in June, never finished. I think I streamed Kenzie in a couple weeks. 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆 has been taking up a lot of my time, but let's finish, or at least try to finish June. I don't know that we can. I don't know how long it is, but you already know the drill. If I don't finish, I plan to keep up on this so we can finish them because I know it's fun to go through these text messages as wild as they are. Hello, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Please hit the like button, do all the YouTube things, subscribe, notifications, drop a comment, let me know what's up. Let me say hello to everyone. It is Friday the 13th. I'm going to pay someone to count for me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Let me say hello to everyone. I saw Bonker, Banana, Evie, Tasmom, Vanjie, Crease, Rudy. Did I say Tasmom? Angel Eyes, Michelle. Thank you for being here. And Vanjie. Hello, hello, hello. We do have more lives planned after this. It's a long night. We're doing late night tonight. So hopefully you stay up. We have Sarah Boone and 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆𝗆. So we'll definitely have another live after this. But let's get started where I left off. I had to go back in the previous video because it has been a while that we've read Kenzie text. So I had to go back and find where we were at. But I have it. So let me... Okay. Yes, let's do this. I just swallowed up my pizza. Let's get started. We left off on June 16th, 2020. Let's see what was going on a little bit before. I'll let you know. Tomorrow would be fine too. I'm trying to get to bed soon. Okay, so they were just ending their night. It's a new morning. Kenzie says, "Morning, babe." Dom says, "Can you look for my other phone?" At 11:52 a.m. Kenzie says, "Where would it be?" "I'm looking now." Dom says, "Then plug it in." Kenzie says, "Where's the last place you had it?" "Never mind." "Babe, it's cool, but you said we could cuddle a while ago." "I have to leave at 1. She says at 12:47, and then she says, "Oh my God, check Insta at 1:13. Oh, wait. Is this in the morning? Let me go back. Okay, it's a different day. So the June 16th, she says, "Where's the last place you had your phone?" At 11:53 a.m., she says, "Never mind." Then it jumps to the 17th. She says, "Babe, it's cool. You said we could cuddle a while ago. I have to leave at 1. She says, "Oh my God, check Insta." Dom says, "Okay." And that was at 1:14 a.m. She says, "Morning, babe," at 9:35 a.m. on the 17th. "I just found out Phil gave me $600 perfume. Also, I'm going to have 10 to 11 plants in a couple days. So what are we doing about that?" Dom likes her message. She says, what are you doing today?" He says, "I'm about to go to Kyle's to get some shit done." She says, "Okay, if you want to chill, hit me up." She says that at 1:16 p.m. Then she says, "Should I take my hair down right now?" At 1:38 p.m. She says, "What size are you?" He doesn't respond. She says, "Swim trunks." She says, "Okay, we left." Wish she would answer faster. Dom says, "Sorry, I was talking to Kyle." Kenzie says, "I was going to get you some cute trunks too, but you didn't answer." And then she sends an audio message and she says, "Whoops." Dom says, "You should have just got them." Kenzie says, "What size? I'll go back." Dom, answer. "Okay, shake my head. I'm getting medium." "And you don't get to pick." Dom says, "Small." She says, "There's only like 2 smalls." Dom says, "What ones?" Kenzie says, "UAT and MTV one." "Let me keep looking." "And a gray one." Never mind, only the MTV one. Bruh, when I'm asking you questions about something I'm buying for you, you gotta answer fast. I can't just wait. Dom says, if I can't answer, then don't buy it. It's cool. She says, look at Insta. Babe. She sends us a picture of some shorts. She says, if you don't like those, I can go to American Eagle, and that's the last place I'm going. Dom says, those are okay. I'd have to see how they look on me. If you think they're cool, I'll probably like them. Kenzie says, I got you. I got you some. You're going to love them, I hope. Dom says, okay. She says, want to meet up with me and Maddie at the beach at 3:00 p.m.? Or are you going to be busy all day? Or if you can hang soon, I won't go with her. Dom says, when I have to run to 2 places. Kenzie said, soon, probably. I'm still at the mall. Dom says, okay, just let me know. She says, okay, Maddie said she might not want to go, but me and you can go. I want to give you the swimsuit. Dom says, okay. Kenzie says, me and you can still go to the beach if you want, though. There's like never people there and it's nice. It's Rocky River Park. I'm going to be home in 3 minutes. Dom says, yo, you still at the mall? She says, no, I'm home, babe, at 3:18 p.m. Dom says, damn, I was going to ask for a sub. Kenzie says, I'll get you one. He says, how? She says, I can go to Charlie's, then come to your house. Dom says, no, LOL, you're okay. She says, I got to show you something. I want to hang and go to the beach, babe. Do you want to go? He says, yeah, I could go. She says, when you want to go? Soon, though. No response. She says, babe, my account, 200, Dom. We fix that. Sends a screenshot of something that's redacted. He says, how? We didn't spend anything. She says, I have no idea. Dom says, we had enough for sure. She says, I know, question mark, that it doesn't say any money is taken out. I'm so confused. Are you at Kyle's? Are you going to be done soon? Sends Rocky River Park location. Removes a question mark. Dom says, I can't find my keys at 4:36 p.m. She says, oh God, how long have you been looking? It's also going to get cold soon, and it's colder by the lake. Dom says, I finally found them. Kenzie says, where were they? She says, so are you going to be ready soon? Dom says, yeah. She says, okay, I'm ready at 4:48 p.m. Want me to bring you a 𝗙𝗋ₐ? I don't know what that is. He says, I'm probably okay. She says, okay. You gonna be ready before 5 or like 10 after? Dom says, I just got home. Kenzie says, oh, can I come over right now? I'll bring the swimsuit. Dom? Question mark. He says, yeah, at 5:02 p.m. She says, okay, on my way. And then it's the next day on the 18th at 2:32 a.m. He sends her a link of a Lexus. He's sending her some cars because I'm thinking he wants to get a new car. She says, good morning at 9:29 a.m. He says, good morning, babe. She says, look at Insta, babe. Babe, are we chilling soon? Also, bring the plants in your house. It's going to rain today. Dom says, sorry, I slept. Yeah, you can come. She says, it's okay. I figured I'm going to come now. On the way. And that was at 11:24 a.m. Jumps to 5:54 p.m. She says, where are you at? If you want to go out there, just tell me. Don't leave me here. She emphasizes her message. She says, Dom. And then she sends 15 question marks. And then it jumps to the next day, the 19th at 9:57 a.m. Morning, babe. Dom says, good morning, babe. She says, I slept good last night, to be honest. Hopefully I'm not tired all day. But it's going to rain. It's not going to rain anymore today, I think. Dom says, don't smoke weed or hit a vape till I say you can. Kenzie says, I'm going to be done vaping and try to hit carts too. Try not to hit carts. Dom says, for sure. He says, is your dad at my house? Kenzie says, LMFAO. I don't know. Probably they need to take pics of the pool thing. I was supposed to do it, but I forgot. Dom says, I came home and there's a BMW motorcycle. LOL. Kenzie says, what is he doing? Dom says, I don't know. I didn't see him. Kenzie says, oh, LOL. She says, my eyebrows are like amazing right now on the 19th at 11:04 a.m. Dom says, I didn't know it was him. I just think he's fucking with the water heater for the pool. Kenzie says, yeah, that's what he needed to do. What you gonna do today? I low-key want to smoke right now. Dom says, don't. And I'm gonna shower. I might go hang with Trevor and Bartula at 3. Kenzie says, I won't. LOL. Okay, after you kick it with them, hit me up. But tomorrow we're definitely going to one of those places. Dom says, what? Loudenville? She says, yeah. Sends a TikTok link. Then she says, watch this video, WTF. Dom responds and says, WTF. Kenzie says, I don't know what the F. Did you see the house arrest anklet? Dom says, I didn't. Kenzie says, it's unseen there. It's under their sweatpants. You can see the bulk. Dom says, oh, LMAO. Kenzie says, I'm bored AF and I can't really tan. I'm trying to tan right now, but the sun keeps going away. Dom says, that's tough. Maybe we can chill for a little. I don't have much to do. Kenzie says, well, aren't you going to Trevor's? And I'm down to chill. Dom says, at like 3. Kenzie says, you want to hang for a little? She sends a screenshot. Wait, is that the next day? No, it's the same day. She then sends a screenshot of somebody's profile. Dom says, WTF. She says, right? That's gross. That shit is gross AF. She says, what are you doing at 3:02? He says, I'm with Blair waiting to go to Trevor's. She says, I'm tanning and got hot. I'm excited for tomorrow. Dom says, canoeing? He says, we should definitely get food to bring. Kenzie said, that's what I'm saying. I can go to the store with my mom. Dom says, I was going to say, we can go if you want. That'll be easier. Dom says, because you won't eat lunch meat, really, right? Kenzie says, I mean, it depends what kind. Like, I like lunch meat, but not with bread. LMAO. So Kenzie likes lunch meat like what? Oh, let me move to the other side so you guys can see. My bad. She just likes to eat pieces of lunch meat. Whatever. Okay, oh, sorry. Dom says, Kenzie says, just let me know what I should get. Me and my mom will go. Dom says, I'll probably just chill. I'll probably just get my own shit from the deli real quick. Kenzie says, okay, I'll get some snacks right now too. She says, Insta at 3:34. He says, yeah, get good chips. She says, okay, I will. He says, def the cheesy ruffles. Kenzie says, babe, I was already going to get those. Did you see Insta? Dom says, yeah, I like those. She says, it fits me pretty good now. It used to be a little loose. Dom says, you should wear those more. Def will be more comfortable than jean shorts. She says, yeah, I have to sneeze. She says, yes, but I'm active and I like to sit with my knees up. So it's going to be hard to sit normal, LMFAO, but I'll wear them. Dom says, oh, true. She says, it's hard to find dresses that fit me. Dom said, yeah, no, knees up. She says, also make sure the place we're going to is open. I just checked. I think it is. Dom says, you check. He says, okay, bet. She says, it says open. You look too, though. Dom says, okay, I'll look later. I'm trying to find some food. She says, okay, talk to you later at 3:44 p.m. 4:50, she says, I'm on the way to the store. Let me know if you want anything specific. Dom says, beef jerky. Kenzie says, LOL, what kind? He says, sweet and hot. She says, okay, LMFAO. What should I all get? I got chips and jerky so far. I got snacks. Dom says, bet. She says, what are you doing at 7:22 p.m.? He says, at Trevor's. Kenzie says, what y'all doing? He says, just chilling right now. She says, that thing delivered. She says, how early are we waking up tomorrow? When do I need to be ready by? Dom says, I don't know. Look it up on the internet. Kenzie said, it opens at 9. She says, set a reminder at 10:11 p.m. because we got to go early. Dom says, okay, what time do we have to be there to do the 10-mile? She says, I don't know. You look. There's only 7.5. Dom says, really? She says, look at the website. Sends a link. She says, Mohican has a longer one. Dom says, nah, 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗆. She says, I spelt that bad. Dom says, oh. She says, yeah, you pick whatever one. And Mohican is in 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗆. What one? He says, Mohican probably. Let me check. Then he says the next morning at 9:27 a.m., are you up? She says, yes. He says, I'm pretty much ready. She says, me too. Scoop. Bring water and towels. Dom says, I gotta eat and go to the bathroom. Walk over or skate. She says, okay, on my way. He says, okay. He says, bring the stuff to put in the cooler. Kenzie says, okay. And then he says, so you might need a ride. I'm about to take another shit. Kenzie says, my mom is taking me. And LMFAO, I knew it. Dom says, can you bring your bread too? We only have rye. Kenzie says, I'm already here. I'll have my mom bring it. Dom says, well, you didn't open the text, but it's cool. We can pick it up. She says, I'm getting some now. It's like half a loaf. He said, that's enough. Kenzie says, okay, good. He says, look for Mazda keys. She says, okay. And that was at 10:40 a.m. And then he says at 8:31 p.m., hey, babe. She says, I'm scared. Dom says, we'll be fine. Just a little ticket. Kenzie says, I'll say it's mine. Dom says, I just hope we can drive home together. No, for me, it's just a ticket. You still got other? Kenzie says, me too. The other what? Dom says, you know. She says, the weed? Dom says, yeah. She says, I'm my G though. Dom says, what? She says, thong. I'm having a panic attack. Dom says, oh yeah, keep it there. We'll be out soon. Kenzie says, okay. They're saying they can pat me down. Oh, wait, did they get pulled over? Oh, I think they got pulled over coming back from wherever they were going, right? She says, they're saying they can pat me down. I don't remember this. Dom says, tell them no and record. That's harassment. Kenzie says, are you okay? And I said that. I'm texting gay Kyle. He texted me. The cops are getting shit. Babe, what did they find? They threw shit everywhere. I can't find my glasses. Dom says, I don't know. They're probably somewhere. Kenzie says, what is going on with you? Dom says, he's just doing paperwork. Kenzie says, what is happening to you? Bruh. Dom says, did you find your glasses? Kenzie says, yeah, they were under your seat in the back seat. Your glasses were on the floor too. They ripped one of your papers too, but I cleaned it up. Are you coming back? Dom says, I'm trying. She says, what's going on? Dom says, where's my glasses out of the case? Kenzie says, no. He says, okay, bet. She says, what's happening right now? Dom said, he's still doing paperwork. Kenzie said, okay, so what are you getting a ticket for? Like, what is happening? Dom says, speeding and weed probably. Can you check if the battery for the car is still there? Kenzie says, I did as soon as I got back. It is, babe. She says, oh, she says at 9:10. Then it jumps to the next morning. So they got pulled over? I don't remember that. They did? Why don't I remember this from the last time we read this? Oh, shit. They got pulled over. Okay, the next morning at 11:27 a.m. Kenzie says, good morning. Oh. Dom says, good morning back. He says, babe. Kenzie says, I slept so good. Dom says, LMAO. She says, how'd you sleep? Also, I'm gonna need to move the plants to your house soon. She says, what are you doing, babe? At 2:02 p.m. Question mark, question mark. Dom says, I'm really busy at Trevor's. I'll send video. Kenzie says, okay, I'm about to go out to eat with my fam. Dom says, okay. Dom says, don't text about anything. And I mean anything. Kenzie says, I know, babe. Dom says, well, sometimes you do. Kenzie says, okay, my bad, LMFAO. She says, good luck, babe. Dom says, what are you doing at 3:44 p.m.? Kenzie says, I'm at Outback waiting for food. Dom says, I don't got any money on me. Can you order me food? Kenzie says, LMAO, I could probably get you something and just bring it to you when I leave. You got to tell me what you want. He says, no, like I'm starving, busting my ass, and I was going to go to the deli, but I have no cash on me. Like DoorDash on me something real quick. I put money on your card. She says, what do you want? And you want it to Trevor's? Dom says, Charlie subs. She says, okay, let me see if I can. What's Trevor's Addy? He sends the Addy. Kenzie says, okay, thanks. Dom says, you have enough on your account? Kenzie sends a screenshot. She says, I have 31. Is that good? Dom says, just get me one sub, medium or large. Yeah. She says, okay, I got you. Dom says, just make sure no weird shit on it. Kenzie says, I'll let you know when it's there. Dom says, okay, bet. She says, give code. I used your number for text. You will know when it's there. Okay, babe? He says, okay. He says, I didn't get text yet. She says, oh God, okay. It's going to be there in 15 minutes. He says, bet. He says, oh, I just got a text. She says, okay, good. He says, you put the right Addy? She says, yeah. Sends a screenshot of the address. She says, on my way home, you get the food? He says, yeah. They put lettuce on it. Kenzie said, okay, how is it? He said, it was pretty good though. She says, and what the F? I put no lettuce. Dom says, actually, it wasn't bad. She says, okay, I'll rate 4 stars. Dom said, but it wasn't Charlie subs level. For sure. She says, how's it going over there at 4:34 p.m.? Dom says, bad now, really good. I'll tell you later. She says, okay, babe, are you still there at 5:17 p.m.? Dom says, yeah, we'll be here for a bit. And a little bit. Kenzie says, okay, babe, hit me up when you're home. He says, okay. She says, that was at 5:42. Then at 7:57, she says, please answer. 3 seconds. Dom says, why? I'm at Trevor's. She says, I want to show you something. It's really cool. You're going to be happy. Please, babe. Dom says, can I do it in a little? I'm in the middle of something right now. She says, I mean, it will only be 3 seconds. Are you still busy? She says at 8:33 p.m. He says, yeah, I've been sitting here all day, to be honest. She says, so you weren't busy. Dom says, question mark, question mark, question mark. No, I've been sitting here all day, busy AF. My back hurts. I haven't left my chair or Trevor's house. Kenzie says, oh, I thought you meant all day. I was like, WTF. Dom says, or went to the bathroom. Kenzie says, I'll give you a massage, bae. Also, me and the neighbors across the lake got hella beef right now. Dom says, LOL, why, babe? She says, first the recording, now they put hella tree branches in the only pathway, so I had to climb over them. Like, they had so much room to put the sticks, and they threw them in the walkway. Dom doesn't respond. She says, want to hang at 8:54 p.m.? He says, I'm still busy. She says, really? I just got bit by my hamster. No response. 9:28 p.m. She says, what are you doing? Dom said, still busy. She says, sideways face. Dom says, I'm about to be done at 10:19 p.m. Kenzie says, well, now it's way too late to hang. Dom says, well, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't have time to do anything today. I made no money, didn't smoke any blunts, and barely ate. Actually, I smoked a roach. LOL. Kenzie says, you probably got hella done, so it's okay. FaceTime me. Dom, he says, babe, I'm sorry. I don't know how I didn't see this. I was really busy. He says at 2:25 a.m. Call me in the morning. She says, I slept so fucking bad at 6:39 a.m. Oh, here we go. She's embarrassing to Dom and his family. Dude, how does he text when he's working with his friends like all the time? That's crazy. She says, I slept so fucking bad at 6:39 p.m. Let me switch to the other side. And then she says, like, F my bed. Dom says, LOL at 9 a.m. Good morning, babe. She says, what are you doing? I woke up mad, then I fell back asleep. Do you want to hang out today? Dom says, at the dentist. She said, oh shit, for what? Dom says, checkup. She says, oh, okay, you're going to be home soon? And is your mouth good? LMAO. Dom says, yeah, but I have to leave to finish. She says, what do you mean? Dom says, I'll tell you later. Let me do some things. I'll bring you with me when I'm done. She says, yay. I'm wearing a surprise. She says, holy shit. I forgot to tell you, I have to stop smoking for 3 days tomorrow. Dom says, that's tough. She says, I'm going to get my teeth fixed in 4 days. Dom says, at least your teeth will be good. She sends a screenshot. Dom says, a 14-year-old? Kenzie says, yeah, LMFAO. What if it was Kyle? Dom says, like a dude or a girl? She says, I don't know. To be honest, it probably was, says Dom. He don't look that old, though. He looks like 25. Kenzie says, I know, he looks in 20s. I don't know how older they're talking about. Dom says, do they mean older like 50? I don't know. I almost want to show him. Kenzie says, I'll ask my mom. She says, LOL, do it. Dom says, nah, LMAO, not yet at least. Kenzie says, 14-year-old riding a bike. The guy was 20. Dom says, to be honest, I mean, he does chill with Lewis a lot. Dom says, who? Kenzie says, he said he was looking for friends. The guy in the white Tesla. Dom says, it was definitely him. Why does he like to chill with kids? Kenzie says, OMFG. That's weird AF. I hope it's not. Dom says, it's weird though, because he's like cool with Brody and cool with Lewis and all the freshmen. I don't know. He's trying to be friends. Kenzie says, I was in Sheffield Lake, I think too. It's weird. The guy has Strongsville plates. Dom says, where's Sheffield? Kenzie said, it's by the lake. So I don't know if it was him. But if it was Kyle, I'm going to be dead. Dom says, yeah, that's a weird area. The plate's registered to Strongsville, though. You should see if we can get a plate number. Kenzie said, that's what I'm saying. Dom says, and I'll check if it's his. Oh my God. So they think Kyle's like a PDF file? Oh my God. I was like choking. Wait. So they think Kyle's a PDF or what? Because that's what it sounds like. She said, here's the Facebook post. Ew. You know how I feel about PDF files, guys. We do not do PDF files. She says, here's a Facebook post. It's not sending. Hold on, she says. And then she sends a Facebook post. I wish there was a link I could click. Dom says, Kyle is 30. Get plates. Kenzie said, oh shit, really? Dom says, what did he look like? Kenzie said, that's all the post was. She says, bruh. Dom says, you should have your mom ask them. Kenzie says, okay, I will. Dom says, because yeah, I mean, if Kyle is a weirdo, I won't really care as long as I know. Oh, wait. Guys, I don't like that. I don't like that. What does he mean by that? I don't really care if Kyle is a weirdo. Were you choking on my spit? Alicia's like, are you good? I was talking too fast. Wait. Knowing that someone is a pedophile and not reporting it is just as bad. I'm sorry. If that's you, which I don't think it's any of you here, lovelies that watch me. But I'm just saying. Huh? Yeah, I don't know. Dom says, if Kyle is a weirdo, I won't really care as long as I know. And he gives me good advice. Kenzie says, bruh, I will not be around him if he did that. Wow. The one time in my life I agree with Kenzie. like, of this whole last year that I've been covering her. The one time I think I agree with her. She says, "That's so weird. I hope it's not him." Dom says, "Kyle is 30, and I wonder how old Bradbury is." Kenzie says, "Bruh, effing out." Freaking out, I think she meant. Dom says, "I wouldn't think he'd be driving Kyle's car, but if I can, I will." Kenzie says, "This is so weird." Dom says, "Yeah, see if you can get plate numbers." Kenzie says, "My mom is trying right now. When you leave the dentist, FaceTime me." Dom says, "I don't think it's Kyle." Kenzie says, "Good. Why do you say that?" Dom says, "Because he doesn't live in Strongsville. How would his plates be here?" Kenzie says, "He just got his Tesla here, though, and he lives in Strongsville." Dom said, "That's an Airbnb." Kenzie said, "Oh, true." She says, "What are you doing now?" No response. "Babe?" He says, "Busy," at 2:15 p.m. She says, "When are you getting me? I thought it was going to be soon." "Babe, you haven't texted back in over an hour." She emphasized her message. Dom said, "That's because I'm busy." Kenzie says, "Well, you said you would bring me. Like, I thought you were going to get me after that one thing you said you had to do. Like, this is my last day smoking. I'm not trying to sit at home all day." Dom says, "Yeah, I know. I've been busy AF all day. I don't know why you question me so much." Here we go. Kenzie said, "I was just confused why you were ignoring me because you said you would pick me up after whatever you were doing, but it's been a while. When are you going to be able to pick me up?" Dom says, "Now, because I'm done finally." She says, "Okay, yay. I look really cute." Who said she looks really cute? Who said that? Natalie? Doesn't count. She says, "Okay, yay. I look really cute. I'm ready." Dom says, "Okay." She says, "Are you on the way right now?" He says, "Yeah." She says, "How far?" He says, "I'm here." She says, "KK, it's 4:03 p.m. Next morning at 6:29 a.m. She says, "Guess what happened again? My room hot AF and my head is pounding." Dom says, "I'm up too, but I can't see." Dom says, "I'm so mad, right?" That's what Dom said. Kenzie says, "I'm so mad right now. And why? Why can't you see, baby?" He says, "My eyes aren't working." Wait, I want to use this. I want to use this excuse sometime. My eyes aren't working. Next time I like run a red light or something, I'll be like, "Oh, my eyes weren't working." She says, "Just get off your phone until your eyes are better." She said, "Oh my God, my room is so effing hot." Dom says, "I haven't been on my phone." She says, "Oh, I do not feel good at all right now. I think I'm a puke or something because my head is hurting." Dom says, "Go puke." "I had to take a bad shit. Barely made it." Oh, okay, Dom. Those are some issues that you're having there. He says, "I barely made it." She says, "If you felt my room right now, you would flip out. And my mom is being so fucking annoying too. Like, I'm telling her it's hot AF." And she's like, "Don't take it out on me. Like, I'm not telling you it's too effing hot in my room." Dom says, "Then go turn on the air or open a window. It's nice right now." Kenzie says, "I'm in the bathroom about to puke, Dom." He says, "Okay, well, the hot air doesn't affect you right now. So after you're done puking, change the air." She says, "I hate my house so much." Dom says, "Motivation." Kenzie said, "I think I'm sick." Dom says, "I hope not." Kenzie said, "So you probably could be sick too. I'll let you know." Dom says, "Remember, Chris threw up too. Maybe it was a steak because I woke up and my stomach hurt. But then I just took a shit." Kenzie said, "My head is fucked up and I just feel really weird. I just took meds." Dom says, "What meds?" She says, aspirin or ibuprofen. Dom said, try to go to the bathroom or puke, then go back to sleep. Kenzie said, I can't puke. I tried. Dom says, eat something. She said, I'm just laying down now. Dom says, because the pill will hurt your tummy with no food. Kenzie says, OMG, I feel so bad. I hate how I feel right now. I definitely can't eat right now. Dom says, that's what you think till you eat. Kenzie says, I couldn't really even take the pill. Dom says, just eat a little bit of fruit. How are you feeling now? Kenzie said, wanna hang? I feel better. Okay. Dom said, nice. Basically my response. She said, question mark? And then she sends a TikTok. She said, watch that shit. And then when can I bring the plants over? Dom says, I'll probably pick you up. She says, when, babe? And did you watch it? He says, yeah, I did. She said, isn't that fucked up? Dom says, yeah, I know that's what they were going to do when Corona happened. Kenzie says, I do not want this shit to happen. Can you get me soon or now? She says at 1:13 p.m. Dom says, no. She says, when can you? Dom says, I have to do 2 things, then I can. But I might go check out a car, which would take a while. Kenzie says, okay, bet. And oh shit, what car? If you go look at cars, could I come? It's cool if not, but I'm just trying to hang. Dom says, no, sorry. She says, it's cool, babe. Dom says, can you help me find new underwear? She says, yeah, LMFAO, send me websites. Dom says, I don't know any. That's why I'm asking you. Kenzie said, Polo or American Eagle? Dom says, yeah, those are Abercrombie. Kenzie says, okay, I'll find some after I spray paint. Are you busy right now? Do you want to come paint with me? Dom says, I can't. I'll come pick you up later. She says, you want to drop something to my friends? Dom says, what and who? She says, Cart, to Jaden. I think he's gay. He just moved to Florida and he's back for a couple of weeks. Dom says, Jaden who? She says, never mind. AJ did it. The cop just shot the goose. Dom says, okay, bet. She says, I feel so bad for that little goose. Dom said, yeah, that's sad. She says, it was fucked up. Dom says, what happened to him and what did the cops shoot him with? Kenzie said, so it was like flipped over and I think its neck was broken. The lady I met there tried to pick it up and just could not hold its neck up and it was just laying there on its back, moving its feet. Dom says, that's sad. Kenzie says, I know, right? When are you going to be done? At 2:54 p.m. Oh, R.I.P. the goose. Dom says, I'm on the way to check the car out. Kenzie says, oh, how far is it? Dom says, I'm in the straight hood right now, for real, at 3:32 p.m. On Lorraine Road, we got off on Denison. She says, WTF, is that where the car is? Be careful. He doesn't respond. And she says, I just made a TikTok. Let me come over when you're home. Dom says, okay, my phone died. Sorry. Now it's 4:48 p.m. She says, it's okay, babe. I figured. Dom says, want me to come too? We can move the babies. Kenzie says, yeah. I got to show you some funny shit. Are you coming now? Dom says, yeah, I'll be home. I'll come soon. Give me a sec. She says, okay, I'm ready at 4:51 p.m. Come, babe. She emphasized her message. We going to hell? Dom says, what did you do? She says, LMAO, I mean the place. Dom says, I know, I was kidding. She says, oh, I got you something. Dom says, what'd you get? She says, surprise. Dom says, okay, what are you doing now? She says, I'm coming back soon. We're dropping everyone off. Wait, let me see. Oh, it's the same day. Yeah. She says, I'm coming back soon. We're dropping everyone off. I had hella fun. Morgan, Lexi, and Kristen. And that was the last thing she said on the 23rd. Then on the 24th at 9:21, she says, morning, babe. When you're up, you should let me come over. Dom says, let me get stuff done. She says, I'm at Abercrombie. I got you something. Dom says, what is it? She says, the underwear, but I'm not going to show you till I come hang. Dom says, okay, bet. When are you coming? At 3:01 p.m. She says, whenever, when you're home. LOL. He says, I got to do some stuff, then I'll be home. She says, want to go to hell? At 4:35 p.m. Dom says, when? She says, like Devin, Lexi, me, and you, and some more people. I don't know. Dom says, I don't know. The Jag is leaking coolant. She said, what the F is that? Dom says, oh yeah. Can they drive? It was. I don't know if it is anymore. Kenzie says, Devin is down to go if you go and we can all match. I just won't smoke. We're going soon. Dom says, I gotta stop at Xavier's. Kenzie says, go right now so we can go. We're going at 5. Or just go to him after. Dom says, how long will we be? Kenzie says, I don't know, however long, but you can probably go after. We're going at 5. You need to scoop at 5. Are you on the way? She says at 5:01 p.m. Babe? Dom says, I'm on the way home. She says, okay, good. We're all ready to go. Dom says, I'm about to be there. She says, okay, bet. She has said, so is Lexi. Dom says, I'm here at 5:22 p.m. Does Lexi have a car charger? And then that was the last thing on the 24th. Then it jumps to the 25th. Kenzie says, hey, babe, at 10:58 a.m. Get a CP season pass so we can go the 9th through the 10th. Dom says, okay. She said, also, we found cabins. It's Cedar Point cabins. Would you want to hang or want to do some shit before? Dom says, I have to do stuff. She says, okay, babe, hit me up after. That was at 11:38 a.m. Then she says, what are you doing, babe? At 3:01 p.m. Do you want to hang out now? If you're going to decline my call, then text me back. She says at 3:14 p.m. Dom says, I'm looking at cars. She says, oh, all right. Do you want to hang soon though? Dom says, probably not. She says, oh, I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. Are you going to come cuddle me after my appointment? Dude, he doesn't want to hang out with you. And dude, he doesn't want to cuddle you. Gross. I thought Kyle was gay. I don't know. She's already on her way over there. I don't know. Is he? She says, are you going to come cuddle me after my appointment? Dude, it's the dentist. You're not getting heart surgery. Like, why do you need someone to cuddle you after the dentist? Oh my God, don't tell me you guys need someone to cuddle you after the dentist. Dom says, I don't know. I didn't get shit done today because of Trevor and my car. Kenzie says, oh, that's cool. I forgot about that. Also, I forgot to tell you, but we can't find any cabins, so we're going to get a huge tent and go to Nelson's. She emphasizes her message. Dom says, I thought we found some. She said, I don't know. Nelson's doesn't sound like the move, Dom says. She says, really? We were going to get a big ass tent with like 4 rooms. Lexi's going to make a group chat with everyone that's going. I'll try to find a cabin. We all looked for hours and didn't find any. Dom says, it's whatever. She sends a link from Walmart for a Ozark Trail 14-person 4-room base camp tent with 4 entrances. She says, we all have to chip in $30 for that, and to camp at Nelson's, it's $50. You can't call right now? Sideways face. He says, I'm about to be home at 5:45 p.m. She says, you want to hang? I might go whip around on the mini bike. Dom says, maybe. I've been really busy. I haven't even showered. Kenzie says, well, if you do, let me know. I'm going to ride the mini bike to your house. Dom says, no, you won't. LMAO. Kenzie says, not right now, but if you want to hang, yes, I will. I'll bring over the boxers I got you too. Dom says, LMAO. That would be funny AF. She says at 6:22 p.m., do you want to hang soon? Dom says, maybe. Me and Angelo, Ryan, and Smeesh might hoop. I need food, but can't drive anywhere. Might just take the Mazda. Kenzie says, okay. I can just deliver the underwear, then leave. LMFAO. Maybe kick it for a little, then leave, because I'm hanging with Morgan and them. You guys can just hoop. I really just want to see you on the bike. Want you to see me on the bike. You can come if you want, by the way. Dom says, to where? I'm not even showered. Probably not. She says, I don't know yet. The hill or somewhere. I'll let you know when. Dom says, oh, well, I can't drive my car anyway, so you guys can probably just go. Kenzie says, we would scoop, babe. If we end up at Kyle's, you should come. She says, I just seen a raw ass old caddy at 7:16 p.m. Dom says, okay, because I don't know if Ashish will be here soon enough to ball. Kenzie says, let me know what he does because if he doesn't, you can come hang with us. It will be fun. Dom says he won't be here till at least 8:30. So I'll probably shower and hang with you guys. Kenzie says, yay, bet. Dom says, I don't know if I should wash my hair or not. Kenzie says, well, you had buildup. Dom says, when? I'm going to just do it tomorrow. Kenzie said, you said your head was itchy. Are you showering? She said at 7:46 p.m. Dom says, just got out. Kenzie says, you want us to scoop? Dom said, let me eat dinner. Where y'all going? Kenzie says, the hill or an abandoned place. Dom says, don't go to an abandoned place, just you guys. Kenzie said, we know. Dom said, for real though, you'll get shot. Kenzie says, babe, I know. That's why we're waiting for you. Are you going to be ready soon? Kyle and Kristen meeting up with us. Dom says, I can drive the Jag. Where y'all going? Kenzie says, we can scoop, babe. Hill. That one hill. We might go somewhere after. We can scoop right now, though. Dom said, scoop and go where after? I'll just take the Jag. It's way too sexy. Kenzie says, babe, please answer at 8:29 p.m. LMAO. Okay, go. Go now. And bring 4 Gs for Devin. Dom says, okay. Kenzie says, we're getting money from Devin, then we going. Kristen and Kyle are going to be there. We're on the way. Bring me a hoodie, babe. Dom says, what you smoking? She said, bong. Morgan's bong. Dom said, oh, okay. She says, are you on the way at 8:35 p.m.? Dom says, I just can't find my woods. Kenzie says, you don't need to bring a wood. We have a bong, babe. Dom says, okay. She says, we're going to be there in 5. She says, we're here at 8:42 p.m. Dom says, I'm on the way. She says, okay, bet. They taking so long. Shake my head. She says at 10:23 p.m. Where you at right now? Bruh. Answer, and fucking Devin took so long. He was just talking to the kid and making us wait. She sends an attachment. Dom says, that's gay. She says, no, I'm mad right now. Like Devin and Lexi both taking so long. Like, I don't want to fucking wait here. I already had to wait 30 minutes for Devin to F my clock out. Like, now I'm just waiting. I'm so annoyed. Text Devin to fucking hurry. And you're being annoying too. Thanks for the fast replies. I'm mad at you, by the way. She says at 11:03 p.m. Dom says, what? She says, like, WTF. Dom says, I wasn't looking at my phone. She says, yeah, all right. You don't need to look to feel the buzz. Dom says, what? I really didn't. She says, bruh, I texted you 40 times. Who's all there? If girls are there, I'm going to be mad too. Dom sends me, Kyle, and some other people. He says, N-word. She says, I'm mad at you. Fucking annoying. I'm really mad right now. You're making it worse. Like, who the F is that girl? I don't even want to be here anymore. Dom says, okay, I'm sorry. She says, no, you're not. Dom says, that dude's girlfriend. Kenzie said, she's probably hot. Oh, she's probably a thought. A hoe. A hoe. She did a typo. My bad. She's probably a hoe. And thanks for making me stand. Smiley. Oh my God. So they're hanging out and there's a girl around. Kenzie's jealous. They're fighting. I share your Kenzie content with young men in my family to instill fear and help them stay safe. You do more than just entertain the hell out of people. Thank you, Planet Damnation. Insecure much? Yeah. You better not hang around other girls, she said. She says, I just made that up, but She says, thanks for making me stand. Smiley. Dom says, bruh, I don't give an F. You don't have to. Kenzie said, so I'm going to stand. WTF. Like, are you trying to make this work? Like, it's not hard to not be a dick. I'm sorry. I have a really hard day tomorrow and I'm stressed about it, Dom. You know that I never mean to make you mad. I care about you way too much. Okay, so they were hanging out with friends. They were getting in a fight. Dom didn't want to hang out with her there. There was another girl. Kenzie was insecure. And then at 1:45, she's like, "Ugh, I didn't mean to make you stress. You know that I never mean to make you mad. I care about you way too much. I'm just been tweaked my anxiety too much the last couple days. I have like no nails. I love you, babe. I'm just cuddling your blanket right now. I'm so sad." So now she's so sad. Um, she says, I'm just cuddling your blanket right now. I'm so sad. Dom says, okay, at 1:55 a.m. Kenzie said, say more. You know I'm stressed, babe. I'm sorry. I can't sleep. Dom says, I know. Kenzie said, next time, if something like this happens again, I'll be more chill. I just had a really rough night. Dom says, okay, good night. She says, good night, babe. Text me if you can't sleep. Dom says, I'm not going to sleep. She says, okay, me either. I'm trying to, though. Dom says, okay. She said, please don't be mad at me. Dom says, I won't. I'm sorry. Kenzie said, it's okay. I'm sorry too, baby. At 2:14 a.m. in the morning. So toxic. She says, I'm on the way there. She says, I'm scared. She's scared of the dentist. Dom says, you'll be okay, babe. Kenzie sends a screenshot of her at the dentist, I think. Dom says, you'll be okay. She says, come over here when I'm home at 11:35 a.m. on the 26th. She says, I'm on the way home now. Dom says, okay. How you feel? She said, I just feel weird. Not like those wisdom teeth videos. Dom says, LMAO. She says, but everything feels weird and my whole face is numb. She says, I'm home at noon. Come, babe. He says, what are you doing now at 2:52 p.m.? She says, I slept for a little. Now I'm just sitting here. My mouth hurts so bad. Come lay with me. Doesn't respond. Kenzie says, how far are you at 3:35 p.m.? Dom says, by the highway. She says, okay, so you on the way to me? Dom says, I have to stop home. She says, okay, come fast. Dom says, want to go out to eat at B spot? Wait, is that the same day? I thought her mouth was hurting. Oh, yeah, it is. Dom says, want to go eat at the B spot? Kenzie says, my dress came in, my really cute one. Dom says, where is it? She says, question mark, FaceTime me? Dom says, I'm talking with Angelo. She says, well, I was waiting for you to come to try the dress on. Can you just come over here first? She says at 4 p.m. Dom says, yeah. She says, okay, yay, come. And that was at 4:01 p.m. Dom says, what are you doing now at 8:26 p.m.? She says, me and Morgan having a fire right now, just me and her. We can't get it to start. Dom says, do you want to smoke a wood? I'll bring lighter fluid. She says, yes, come. If you can bring chocolate. Dom says, LMAO. She says, let me know when you're on the way. Dom says, I have to get woods first. She said, bring Smirnoffs, the blue ones. Dom says, okay, hold up. She says, okay, LMFAO. Morgan want a drink. Dom says, okay, I'll get him. She says, throw me a 5 or something. Kenzie says, no, they are at your house, remember? The ones for Jared's? From Jared's? Dom says, oh, where are they? I'm already having Nikki get them. Kenzie says, I don't remember. Maybe in the fridge? Okay, I'll throw you a 5. Get $5 vodka for Morgan. She said she will pay you back by tomorrow. Dom says, I found them. Kenzie says, okay, bet. When you get here, come to the gate in the back. Dom says, which side? At 9:09 p.m. She says, right. Is Nikki still getting Morgan vodka? Dom said, no, it's probably too late for that. I just told her twisted tea in your shit. Kenzie says, oh, okay. Morgan don't fuck with twisted teas, but she has a little vodka left. Dom says, I don't either. Kenzie says, LMAO. Kristen and Lexi and Devin probably do. Dom says, LOL. She says, let me know when you're here. It's just me because Morgan went to get the baby with Lexi. Dom says, okay. Kenzie said, hurry though. I'm alone at 9:27 p.m. She says, how far? Dom says, I'm about to dip. She says, yay. Are you close? Dom says, yeah. She says, okay, yay. Morgan's dog is sitting on my lap at the moment. Dom said, where should I park? Kenzie says, let me ask. Dom says, okay, I'm here. Kenzie said, just park in the street. Dom says, I'm just parked in the driveway. Kenzie said, that's fine. She said, that's okay. Dom says, okay, bet. Kenzie said, come to the fence. I'm waiting by the fence. Dom says, what do you want me to do with the drinks? Kenzie said, bring them. Morgan's mom's cool with drinking. Everyone else about to pull up. She says, where you at? LMAO. He says, Sheen isn't answering anymore. I'm going to go chill with Angelo and Ashish. Kenzie says, okay, babe, have fun. Hit me up if you want to hang tomorrow. Oh, so that he ended up not staying. She says, I want to leave, to be honest. I don't feel good. Dom says, have your mom pick you up then. Are you still on that medicine? Kenzie says, I know. She said, yeah, it takes 12 to get out of my system. Dom says, go home, get a snack and drink and go to bed. Kenzie says, yeah, wanna FaceTime if you're alone? At 11:29 a.m. She said, it's lightning so bad right now. Look at the sky. Dom says, I'll check in a second. Is it raining? Kenzie says, no. The sky is just wild. Dom said, oh, that's dope. Next morning on the 27th, Kenzie says, morning at 9:52 a.m. Do you want to hang with me early today, baby? Dom says, let me get shit done today, then we probably can. Kenzie says, yay. Also, are you going to the camping thing? I told everyone you can go. No response. And she says, WTF. You said you would go like 20 times. No response. She says, babe, are you going to be busy for a while or a little? Because if you're going to be busy for a while, I'm going to go hang with someone. And when you're ready, I'll come through. Dom says, I'll be busy for a bit. She says, okay, babe, text me when you're free. And that was at 1:26 p.m. Then she says, are you joking again or what? Why can't you go those days? You're making me mad AF. Can you stop joking about this so we can plan? Like, I'm not going if you don't go, Dom. He doesn't respond. She says, WTF. I thought you were done doing that. Like, why are you even on D&D, Dom? Like, what is going on? No response. She said, fucking embarrassing. Like, how the F can you go from having a combo with me to going to D&D and ignoring me? Like, it makes no sense. What the F is wrong with you? Dom says, what? At 2:48 p.m. Because he says, first of all, why the F are you on D&D? Dom says, I wanted to add 𝗢𝗎. Kenzie said, he's not coming if you're rude. And you're rude AF. Like, I did nothing. And you sit there and ignore me. Like, WTF. Oh my God, I'm so mad at you right now. You're such a dick. Dom says, no, I'm not. Kenzie says, why are you on D&D then? Why are you ignoring me? And not answering my calls? Like, why are you ignoring me? And you're acting like that on purpose. Like you're still on D&D. You're fucking disrespectful. OMFG. I'm done with this, she says. No response. It's like you're trying to make me upset. It's not funny. It never will be funny. No response. I do so much for you. I'm so fucking nice to you. And then you think it's funny to do this. You just ruined the whole group. Now we're all not going because of you. You're effing childish as shit, Dom. Thanks for ruining something I was excited for. Dom says, it was just a joke. She said, thanks for making me cry. No one else is fucking laughing. Dom says, they will all probably still want to go. Whatever, I don't care, he says at 2:56 p.m. I'll have more time to make money. Kenzie says, get off D&D. She says, wow. Wow. I'm done. You're so mean. Like, why are you nice to me for a couple days, then you're just so mean the next day? Like, I don't want to be crying in bed right now. Answer the call. Dom says, no. She says, why not? Why are you being mean? Like, what did I do? Why are you even on D&D? Dom says, we can still go. It wasn't a big deal at all. She says, like, you make me think it's my fault. Dom says, I wasn't being mean, but okay. Kenzie says, they just invited us. Yes, you were, Dom. She says, call me. You left and they called us childish. Why is she surprised? Why are you surprised they called you guys childish? I'm sure all of their friends thought this about their relationship. Even if they don't admit to it, they thought it. Yeah, Steve, Natalie, come get your daughter. He's hiding from her. He never wants to hang out with her. Oh my God, I'm choking. Sorry. She says, you left and they called us childish and uninvited us. Like, why do you play these games? Dom says, okay, fine, hold up at 2:58 p.m. Kenzie says, I wanted to go so bad. Okay, stop being mean to me, Dom. Please, I literally can't take it. Like, you're stressing me out so bad. Did you get off D&D? No response. Kenzie says, I guess you didn't. ... I don't know why you do this to me when I do nothing. You've been ignoring me since you woke up. I don't like this. I don't want to cry. Dom says, I didn't what? Kenzie says, you didn't get off D&D. I tried to call you. Dom says, oh. Kenzie says, and it went to voicemail. Dom says, yeah, we can still go. She says, are you sure? Dom says, yeah, 𝗏𝗏𝗋𝗃 added me back to the group and said she still wants us to go. Kenzie says, if you're nice to me, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 can come. I don't really care. I just don't want you not to give me attention. Because I feel like if he goes, you're not gonna hug me or be cute with me. Are you off D&D? Dom says, no. She says, why? ? Dom says, I don't like to do that anyway. Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Wait. Thank you, Lakeside. I appreciate you, love. Thank you for the super sticker. You're amazing. Wait. I'm cracking up. I'm cracking up right now because she says, you're not going to hug me or be cute with me. And then he says, I don't like to do that anyway. She says, you're never on D&D anymore. You know, it makes me upset. It makes me feel like you want to ignore me or just leave me on red. I know I don't deserve this. And you left again? ? Like what? No response. What did anyone do to you? Literally nothing. You're mad for no effing reason and you take it out on everyone. It's none of our faults. Like, why do you have to embarrass the F out of me like this? Now you're just going to go drive around and not give a fuck how I feel. And now they're talking about me. Thanks, Dom. No response from him. She says, you know just how to hurt me. Dom says, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 said I can leave. I'm driving. Stop blowing me up at 3:23 p.m. Kenzie says, get off D&D and be nice. Then you will get the same back. If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. I don't know why you're so mad at me. Dom says, I haven't been mean at all. Kenzie says, Dom, you've been ignoring me all day. And when I found out you were on D&D, I was like, WTF? Because the only time you go on D&D is when you don't want to get my text. Like, it's okay if you don't want to text me, just let me know. Don't go on D&D. Dom says, okay, fine. I'll go off D&D. She says, thank you, babe. Dom says, just stop whining. Kenzie says, whining? Question mark. That is not whining, but all right. Text me when you got like one more thing to do because I want to hang. Dom says, I'm cool. I'll probably be busy. Kenzie said, are you serious? Dom says, yeah, why? She sends a screenshot. He says, probably. Kenzie said, you said we can hang out today. And when I called you, I told you 𝗲𝓾𝓶 and Sheen want to hang with us. Dom says, still getting shit done. Kenzie said, you said okay to that. I know, I said after. She says, oh my God, I'm trying hard not to freak out. Why are you doing this? Dom says, okay, well, if I'm done in time, I'll hit you up. She says, how much more shit you gotta do? Please don't tell me when you're home because you do that sometimes. I'm hella stressed right now, she says at 3:40 p.m. Dom says, I am home. I gotta leave though. I was just stopping for food. Kenzie says, what'd you get? And how many more runs you gotta do? Dom says, pasta, more. She says, like a number, babe, LOL. Like, do you have less than 5? He doesn't respond. She says, babe. He doesn't respond. She says, please don't leave me on red. Dom says, I don't know. Kenzie says, how don't you know? LMFAO, can you FaceTime for like 3 seconds? She says at 4:07 p.m. I want to show you something funny AF. Dom said, last stop at 5:30. Kenzie says, okay, yay, but FaceTime me real quick. It's really funny. FaceTime. Dom doesn't respond. She says, LMFAO, how did I know you were lying about not being on D&D? Dom says, can't. Kenzie said, K. So are you going to be done soon? Dom said, yeah, I'll probably be a little later than 5:30. Kenzie said, so before 6? Can you please FaceTime me so I can show you something? I don't get it. Like, you're fucking texting him every single hour of the day. You're instant messaging him on Instagram. And then you want to still FaceTime? Like, I feel smothered and we're just reading these text messages. Like, how can someone even possibly text like this? Like, on all platforms. She's literally, she's demented. She's all about bragging about being with the plug, but has no actual confidence. No, like, side, you're absolutely right. Dude, he doesn't feel like playing grab ass. Yeah, exactly. D&D equals do not disturb. You have to put your partner on do not disturb. Probably shouldn't be your partner. Or whatever, booty call, whatever it is. Well, I guess you can put your booty call on do not disturb. I don't know. She's a stalker. Dude, this is too much for me. She says, can you please FaceTime me so I can show you something? She says, are you going to be home soon? Dom says, yeah, but I don't know if I want to chill with you guys. She says, just me then. You said me and you can hang. Dom says, yeah, but I don't know if I want to. She says, bruh, that's for real annoying. I've been waiting. He doesn't respond. And she says, left on red? Question mark. I know you're on your phone. I don't know what's up with you today. Dom said I wasn't. I was hooping. She said, well, when can we hang? Dom said, maybe after I shower at 6:27 p.m. Does Sheen and 𝗲𝓾𝓶 still want to? Kenzie said, they still want to hang. They're meeting us at the hill. Dom says, who and when? Kenzie said, Morgan and Chris too. Devin, 𝗲𝓾𝓶, Morgan, Chris. Dom says, okay, can I go hang with my plug at 9? Kenzie said, who? LOL. Can we right now? Dom says, me and some of his people. Kenzie said, oh, that's fine. Just guys, right? But if we don't go to the hill before 9, can you wait, then go after? Dom says, yeah, should be. She says, okay, I don't really care if you hang with them. Just don't be dumb. She says, can I come over now? Just oh my God, I had to sneeze. Excuse me, I had to sneeze like 4 times. She says, can I come over now? I'm allergic to Kenzie's bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. Why dudes get with, I don't know. I would like to know this because I think men get with toxic women all the time. So I don't want to hear it. Thank you, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. I don't want to hear it. And I want to know why. Why? She's a virus. Yeah, she is. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. Heavy. It's a thing too. Men are like, I'm so cool. I don't date toxic chicks. I'm perfect. And I'm like, bitch, yeah, you do date toxic chicks. Anyways, let's move on. Dom says, I just got home. I gotta eat and shower. Kenzie said, how long is that gonna take? Are we gonna have like no time to hang? Dom says, I'm eating right now. She says, Kate, try to shower fast because I don't want to only have 2 hours with you. Dom says, okay, I'll get in soon. She says, do you have to wash your hair at 6:58 p.m.? Can I just come over while you shower? Dom says, no, I did yesterday. She questions her message. Answer the other thing too, Dom. Dom says, yeah. She says, okay, when can I come? Dom said, leave in a couple of minutes. She says, okay, I'm coming now. Babe, I'm here. He says, okay, I'm in the bathroom. She says, okay, you want me to come? Also, when did you get those pink champion slides? Dom says, today. He said, door is open. She says, I'm coming. He says, I'm about to get in at 7:17 p.m. I will say though, Dom does not have the best the best time skills. Because I would be a little annoyed. Like if people tell me we're gonna hang out at one time and it's set for like days, like, but you better not change your mind because I already planned it out. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit toxic. Toxicas are frequently fun, but empty vessels with no substance. I met some really smart toxic mofos. Listen, Crease, we're gonna have to talk about this on a maybe after dark. We're gonna talk about this. We need to. Jealousy's a put off. Is it? Is it? Because I feel like everyone is a little bit jealous or is more jealous than they say. In relationships, I mean. And is that attractive, really? Like, question mark? Stay tuned. We'll have to be doing a relationship live this weekend. Maybe I'll do members only. We'll see. Every guy I knew was into it unless I did it. It seems like all my guy friends like really toxic chicks. They're pretty, but they're toxic. He says, I'm about to get in. She says, okay, that was on the 27th, and then jumps to the next day. She says, I'm giving you some money back. Dom says, why? She says, we just got the house for $100 less. I don't know how much, but it's cheaper. And we can't fuck this up. Dom says, oh, okay. She says, no smoking in the house, only outside. Dom says, we probably could smoke in there and just use sprays. You know, I used to be that kind of smoker. Like, I used to want to smoke everywhere I was. Agreed. Everyone acts different, but everyone cares. Right. Acts indifferent. Yes, lakeside. Yes, I agree. She says, Dom says we could probably smoke in there, just use sprays. And the sprays never worked. Like, I wish someone would have told me, like in high school. You know, like, don't use your Victoria's Secret spray or your Bath and Body spray. No, that does not work. That's why my dad always knew. He's like, have you been smoking? And I'm like, no, because I thought my car smelled like Love Spell, you know, when I sprayed the whole bottle after going out with my friends. uh, she says, okay, that's fine too. Wait, what did he say? We probably could smoke, just use sprays. She said, okay, that's fine too. Dom says, my Febreze and Ozium. She says, we for real can't F this up. The lady is so nice. Dom said, like, we have one room for smoking. Because he said, okay, that's fine. We need windows open. Dom says, I'd probably be those other idiots that messed it up. Kenzie said, this place is going to be raw. True. Want to go mentor headlands today? I don't know what that means. Dom says, I don't know when. He says, I'm waiting on people right now. Kenzie said, it's really nice there. If you get your shit done quick, want to go? Dom says, I know I've been there. Kenzie says, really, we should go. Dom says, if I got time. Kenzie said, try to go. Babe, we driving alone, right? At 1:53 p.m. Dom said, to where? Kenzie said, the camping place. She says, what are you doing? At 4 p.m. Dom says, I was busy, then my phone died. Kenzie said, when are you going to be free, babe? Want to go to hell with me and Lexi and maybe other people? Dom says, when I'm free, yeah. She says, okay, bet. She says, I'm gonna be at Mirgam soon. Dom said, what? Oh, she did a typo. Morgan's. She said, I'm gonna be at Morgan's soon. So wanna hang soon? Wait, she said, I'm gonna be at Morgan soon. So wanna hang soon? We're going to hell at 7 probably. Dom said, okay, bet. I might be able to be done soon. Kenzie says, okay, yay. Me and Morgan are at Subway. She says, bruh, I just met the kid who jumped out the window. Dom says, got a couple more things, then I'm down. Kenzie said, bet. We're at Morgan's Subway party right now, LMFAO. Dom said, what? Let's bring AJ and Smeesh. Kenzie said, okay, bet. Morgan's down. Also, bring a wood. Dom said, for sure. Smeesh might not go, AJ will. Who are you with? At 7:05 p.m. Kenzie says, Morgan. Lexi and Devin coming later. Are you ready? Dom says, do I have to drive? Because I've been driving my mom's car. Kenzie says, we can probably scoop. We def can. After you is full car, unless I'm on your... After your car is full, I'm on your lap? Basically, I think she's saying I'll ride on your lap. She says, we're scooping in like 6. We're getting Devin right now, then dropping off baby, then coming for you. Dom says, I can see if I can take my mom's. Kenzie said, I want you to drive with us. Dom said, and I'll get AJ. She said, babe, just come with us. Dom says, why? She says, me and you can share a seat. I want to see you. Dom says, I'm not even home. She says, where are you at? He says, getting my mom from Scotty's. Kenzie says, Chris is coming too. Can you drive separate if you can drive separate if you really want to, but if you're coming with us, it's got to be soon. Dom says, I just got home and have to grab Bud. Kenzie says, we're still waiting at Devin's. Is AJ coming? Dom says, hold up. She says, okay. Dom says, yeah, he is. Kenzie says, okay, good. I'll let you know when we're on the way. Dom says, okay, I'm going to pick him up, then I'll come. Kenzie said, okay, wait though. We're still at Devin's. We're leaving Devin's right now. We got to get gas at stop at Morgan's, then we'll be on the way. Okay, we're on the way, she says, at 7:51 p.m. Wait for us. Dom says, I'm only by Fair Road right now. Kenzie says, we in the Metro Park. We there pretty much. Dom said, same. She says, okay, bet. She said, there's a cop at 8:17 p.m. Where are you at? Are you even here? WTF. That was rude AF. We up there. Everyone on this side. You guys need to come here. So did you find a way? I'm so mad. You for real ruined this shit for me. Kenzie says at 9:05 p.m. Like, now I'm just here alone and you're just there with AJ when I fucking invited you. Like, this is BS. Dom says, okay, sorry, I'll just leave and pretend like you didn't invite me. Kenzie says, I wanted you to come. You're not sorry, Dom. Cross the river and come here. And if the cop is probably gone. If you're really sorry, then you would try to get over here. But you're probably not going to, so whatever. This shit is annoying. And then you just don't answer. Nice, Dom. So she was like, come over and hang out with us, like all of our friends. He gets there. There's a cop. He doesn't get to Kenzie, but he ends up meeting up with AJ. So she's like, okay, I invited you here, but like, you're not even hanging out with me. Hell is like downtown. Yeah, hell is like, I think it's a restaurant in downtown, right? Or no, let me look. I thought it was like downtown area kind of place. Yeah, I thought it was, I don't actually know though what it is. I thought it was like downtown. She is so annoying. I know. Um, she says, then you just don't answer nice, Dom. You for real find a way to do some shit like this every time. Like, I am not having fun. For real, like I'm going to leave, she says at 9:16 p.m. I'm for real mad at you, Dom. Dom says, I can't get across the river. I was trying. I'm still here. He says, hello at 9:22 p.m. Should I just start rolling the wood here? Kenzie says, well, you're over there with just AJ and you won't come. Drive to the apartment and come from there. Dom says, so should I? Kenzie said, the cop is 100% gone. Dom said, no, the cop is probably still there. Kenzie said, it's been 2 hours. Dom says, then I have to go all the way back. And then I have to drive there. Kenzie said, they're saying it's gone. Dom says, I'm not trying to walk all the way back. You told me to go over the river, and it's too hard. Kenzie said, that's how Devin and Chris did it. Like, I want you over here. I wanted to hang with you. Dom says, I can't get over there. My bad. Kenzie said, you should have just came over with us. Dom says, I don't know. Too late now. Kenzie said, go on to if the train tracks and walk over here. Dom says, how? I was about to start rolling. Kenzie says, Devin said you talked about that. Well, don't and come over here. I want to leave, Dom. I'm upset, to be honest. Dom says, we're still trying. Kenzie said, I'm about to be sick. I feel so sick. I'm shaking. Dom says, why? Kenzie said, I'm too high at 9:37 p.m. Dom said, how? She said, bong. Dom says, should I just leave now? Kenzie says, I'm too high. Dom says, should I just leave now? Kenzie says, I don't care. I want to hang with you. Dom says, how much longer are you going to be there? Kenzie says, I don't care. I don't care. Dom says, can you ask not coming? Let me know in the car. Let me know I'm in the car at 9:42 p.m. And then it jumps to the next morning on the 29th at 10:02. Dom says, good morning, babe. What are you doing? Kenzie says, hi, babe. I just woke up. I'm just trying to get my mom to buy me 𝗏𝗏𝗃. And then sends a screenshot. I don't know what that is. Dom says, I seen that, LMAO. Who you think it is? Kenzie said, honestly, no clue. That's some shit we would do. Dom says, LMAO. She says, what are you doing, babe? Dom says, Blair is here at 2:22 p.m. Dom says, I'm going to Trevor's sometime after 3. Kenzie says, what are y'all doing? Can I come before you go to Trevor's and leave when you're about to go? Or can we just hang after 2? I'm at the lake with the kids. Dom says, do your best. Yeah. Kenzie said, bruh, at 2:39 p.m. Then at 3:15, she says, want to go swimming? He doesn't respond. She says, bruh. He doesn't respond. She says, I asked Morgan and Lexi to hang. They said tomorrow, and then they're both chilling, and they didn't invite me. They don't want to hang with you, dude. They just don't want to hang with you. Thank you, Alicia, for the cash shop. Thank you, Babelet. Kenzie hates Blair. Oh, it's an abandoned town. Thank you. Oh, is that what it is? I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be in this kind of relationship. It's so draining. Maybe when I was younger, but like, I don't even know if I would when I was younger. I mean, I have, but not this young. Anyways, she says, I asked Morgan and Lexi to hang. They said tomorrow, and they both just chilling and they didn't invite me. Dom says, oh, that was at 4:08 p.m. Then he says, what's up? She emphasized her message. Are you at Trevor's? She says, babe. He says, I'm with Smeesh. He's getting me woods, but we're probably going to go to Jared's at one point when I get back from Trevor's. She says, can I come to Jared's with you? Babe, answer fast. Dom says, maybe. I don't know. Kenzie says, you said we can hang after Trevor's. And did you see what I said about Lexi and Morgan? Dom said, yeah, just don't hang with them. Yeah, you'll see if you can come. I'll see if I can come. Kenzie says, well, now I have nothing to do. Thanks, babe. Dom says, me and Sheen talked about Kristen. I think we're going to tell Kyle. Kenzie says, what does he think about it? He doesn't F with her either. You really going to be careful how you word this convo. Dom says, he said, yeah, true. Let's talk to him. Kenzie said, oh, damn. Okay, well, when are you going to Jared's? Babe, can you please answer me fast? For sure. Dom says, I don't know. Because this Ashish is driving me. Kenzie said, driving to Jared's? I can just sit in the back. You know what? Never mind. If you don't want me to come, tell me right now. Dom says, I was just saying, I don't know when we're going, but okay. Kenzie said, oh, that was bitchy, by the way, babe. I'm just saying. What are you doing now? She said at 5:46 p.m. You left me on red, by the way. Dom says, I'm at Trevor's. Kenzie says, I need Bud. I'm really upset right now. Dom doesn't respond. She says, all right, Dom, you usually don't ignore me, but I don't know why you're doing it today, especially when I say I'm upset. Dom says, why are you upset? I was rolling a blunt. She says, Pinky might die. He has 2 nights. He has to stay 2 nights in the hospital because he has pneumonia. Dom says, guinea pigs don't live that long. I'm sorry, but if he does die, it was always meant to be. Kenzie says, they could live 7 years. Sad face. Dom says, you can expect to hold on to him forever is what I'm saying. Kenzie says, I'm going to be so sad if Pinky dies. Dom said, how old is he? Kenzie says, when are you leaving Trevor's, babe? Dom says, soon. She says, I don't know, to be honest. Can we hang out when you leave? Can you pick me up? Dom says, I'll see what I can do. Kenzie says, you've been at Trevor's for so long. You said we could chill after. Dom says, not that long. Kenzie says, you said we could chill after. Dom says, okay, I'm going to leave soon, but then I have to get fireworks. Kenzie says, can I come? I'll stay in the car. No response. Babe? Dom says, yeah, you can come. I'm at the shower just waiting for Smeesh at 8:38 p.m. Kenzie says, okay, I'm coming. Dude, your guinea pig is dying because you won't stop texting and you're letting it die. Like you don't take care of it. At least that's what I think. Like stop texting and stalking Dom and take care of your fucking guinea pig. She says, where you at 8:50 p.m.? She says, my babe. He says, I texted Ashish. He didn't answer. They have masks. Kenzie says, we're coming. Do you want us to come? Where you at? That was at 10:22 p.m. And then it jumps to the next day. Good morning, babe. Kenzie says, good morning, baby, at 10:53 a.m. How you sleep? I keep cramping really bad. Dom says, pretty good. Kenzie says, I woke up in pain in the middle of the night, but I slept good. Dom says, probably the Dippin' Dots. Kenzie says, honestly, probably not. I get really crampy sometimes. It's because of birth control. It really fucks with people. Dom says, oh. She says, I feel better now at 11:25 a.m. Dom says, that's good. She says, also, I gotta tell you something. I gotta tell you some of Jen, you have a sec. Dom says, you want me to call you back? Kenzie says, I will in a sec. And then she sends some TikTok links. Dom says, I have to do runs at 3. Want me to come soon? Kenzie says, yeah, sure. Can I come on runs with you? I want to hang out for a little bit. Dom says, well, I was going to go to Trevor's. I don't want to be rushed. Kenzie says, if you don't want to bring me, it's all good, babe. We can just hang out when I'm home tonight or tomorrow. But also, did you figure out a price? Dom says, I will, one sec. She says, okay, baby. Dom says, B's going to be here in 20 minutes, so I'll probably stop and give you the carts real quick. She says, okay, let me know when you're here at 2:18 p.m. She says, I need 6 kissies, though, when you drop it off. 6 kissies? That's disgusting. I don't want Kenzie 6 kissies. Thank you, Evie. Thank you, Babelet. Question mark. We'll never live the question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. I find myself doing that sometimes in real life. Like sometimes I'll be talking to my mom and I'm like, question mark, question mark. And she looks at me like, what? She's like, what did you say, Melly? She says, I need 6 kissies though when you drop it off. She says, you left me on red, by the way. He's like, yeah, I'm not responding to your 6 kissies. He still doesn't respond. She says, thanks, babe. You're really the best. Oh, so he might have dropped off the carts, or maybe he's ignoring her. I don't know. She says, want to hang out at 7:47 p.m. He says, I just got to Trevor's. Want to a little later? She says, yeah, I'm about to be home soon. Dom says, bet. Kenzie says, when you leaving? Babe. She emphasized her message. Dom said, soon at 8:50 p.m. I only been here for an hour. Kenzie says, okay, baby. Dom says, you want me to pick you up at 9:01? Kenzie says, yes, right now. Dom said, soon. She said, okay, I'm still sketched out. She says that at, oh, wait. So it jumps to the next morning. She says, okay, at 9:08 p.m. And then the next, oh, it jumps to, okay, we'll go through it. It jumps to the first. Oh, was there not 31 days? I don't know. She says, okay, on 6:30 at 9:08 p.m. She says, I'm still sketched out at 6:32 a.m. I want to cuddle you. And it kind of hurts right now. And I can't go back to sleep. Dom says, we'll cuddle soon. She says, okay, babe. She says, what are you doing? On July 1st at 11 a.m. He says, just woke up. She says, I did too for the 7th time. Want to swim today? No response. She says, okay, I just talked to Lexi. And like, of course, when she texts something in the group, people answer like, did y'all forget my mom's the one who bought the effing house? Dom says, screenshot the group chat and let me see. Kenzie says, I will. So she sends a screenshot, 2 of them. She says, like, see how they answer for Lexi, but just ignore me? Like, honestly, WTF. And Kristen just peeps the group and says nothing. Dom says, do you want me to say something to them? Kenzie sends a screenshot. She says, bruh. Dom says, add me back. Kenzie says, I'm honestly not fucking with Morgan. She's being such a bitch. Dom says, right now. Right now. Kenzie says, remember, I'm unadded. Dom says, add me to the group. Kenzie said, okay, I just did. Oh, so he jumped in and defended her. What a nice boyfriend. She says, "You're really the best, Dom," at 11:30 a.m. "Thanks for always having my back. I don't know why Morgan's being so shady, for real." She says, "Bruh, I'm really not effing with Morgan." She says, "LMFAO, you called it." No response. Dom, Lincoln has him on Snap and said yes. Dom says, "Bet." Kenzie says, "When y'all doing it?" She's like, "Let me know. I'm ready whenever." This convo is getting heated. Oh. Dom says, Lincoln ready whenever. We might have Levi do it." Kenzie says, "Yeah, LMFAO." Dom says, "We might have Levi do it." Kenzie said, "Who's Levi?" Dom said, "Where does she want us to send him?" Dom says, "Jared's home." Kenzie said, "Well, Lincoln lives in Medina and Griffin has her added, and I thought you were taking him to Trevor's." Dom says, "We'll figure it out." Kenzie says, Does Lincoln have Snap?" Dom says, "I'm not sure." Kenzie says, "I'm going to send it to yours." Dom says, "I'm still mad about them being disrespectful." Kenzie says, "Me too, to be honest. They're acting like it's us causing drama." Dom says, "Yeah, hell nah." Kenzie said, "Right? Morgan texted after all mad, and I was like, it's not our fault." Dom says, "This about to make me not F with anyone, any one of them. Besides Chris, because he's the only one who didn't do anything. And Lexi, 'cause she didn't do anything either." Kenzie said, "And why is Devin agreeing? And Lexi, cool, she tried to help." Dom says, "But the rest are being cocks. Like F, Kristen, Morgan, and Sheen." Kenzie said, "Kristen is sick AF right now. She texted me." And I agree. Mostly Morgan, to be honest. "I just talked to Morgan and she apologized," says Kenzie at 2:00 p.m. Dom says, "Cool." Kenzie says, "Okay, what are you doing, babe?" Dom says, "Waiting to get title switched to my name." Kenzie says, "For the Mazda?" Dom says, "Mm-hmm." Kenzie said, "That's good. You're getting your plates. Did you find a car you like?" He doesn't respond. She says, "Babe, do you think you're going to be free before it gets chilly? Because if you are, we should swim." "Babe?" He says, "I don't think so." Kenzie says, "Damn." Sad face. Dom says, "Sorry, babe." Kenzie says, "I want to hang with you during the day. Me and Maddie are going to the beach." She says, "Bruh, Lexi asked me to hang, and if my mom can watch the baby, then they just uninvited me and says, never mind, we can go to Chris." Like, no, my mom can't watch your baby. Dom says, "Say I'm going to the beach and no, you can't hang with me just to have my mom watch the baby." Kenzie says, "I'm just not going to answer. Not worth the drama, but like, that's really annoying." Um, I feel bad for Kenzie's friend leaving the baby with Natalie Shirilla. Like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Question mark, question mark. Hey, meow, meow. Oh, Alicia, I get those all the time. I do. She says, yeah, wait, what did I? She says, "Not worth the drama, but that's like really annoying." Dom says, "Yeah, just leave her on open." Kenzie says, "I did. What are you doing now?" She says at 5:49 p.m. Dom says, I'm just got home. Think I'm gonna go out to eat with Kyle soon." Kenzie said, "Where are you guys going?" Dom says, "Probably Square 22. Kenzie said, "Oh, that place isn't that good." Dom said, "Yeah, it was a place we went with him. I liked it." Kenzie says, "Yeah, I know. I didn't really F with it that much. Can you hang before you go?" Dom says, "Aren't you going to hang with Maddie?" Kenzie says, "We have no ride, so I can't." Dom says, "Maddie doesn't have a car yet? I thought she had her license." Kenzie says, "She can't drive till next month." Dom says, "Oh." Kenzie says, "Yeah, so now I'm stuck doing nothing." Dom says, "Get a ride to the beach." Kenzie said, "From who?" He says, "Anyone who drives." She says, "I don't know a lot of people that drive. Barely any." He doesn't respond. She says, "Babe, please, can you go to the beach? It's 6:01 p.m." It really annoys me that she always wants to go to the beach and like the water. Hey, ETS, good to see you, girl. Yeah, please hit the like button right now before I put all of you on D&D. Lexi is the girl with the baby. Yeah, Lexi, well, don't have Natalie Shirilla watch her freaking baby. Um, she says, "Babe, can you please go to the beach?" Like, no, Kenzie, it's too late. The only reason to go to the beach at 6 p.m. is to smoke and maybe the sunset. Like, nobody wants to get in the water. There's sharks and anacondas and shit. Like, not, no, we don't want to go to the beach at 6 p.m. We want to go swimming and die and drown. Anyways, she says, "You, AJ, me, and Maddie." Dom says, "I told Kyle and Trevor I'd chill with them. I'm bailing on 2 people." Kenzie said, "Please, babe." Dom says, "Which one?" She says, "That's the one we all went to. We really want to go. Me, Maddie have so much fun there. We want to swim. It will be really fun. Babe, reply." He doesn't reply. She emphasizes all her messages. "Also, please don't decline the call if you're not going to text me back. I'm waiting for an answer. LOL." Dom finally responds at 6:17 p.m. "I was in the middle of texting someone." Kenzie says, "Oh, okay. Well, are you coming? Yes or no?" Dom said no. She said, "Because we really want you to." She says, "Oh." Dom says, "Maybe, hold up." Kenzie says, "Like, you can bring weird Kyle if you want, but you also have to bring AJ." Dom says, "No." Kenzie says, "I want to go before it's not hot enough to swim. We really need to know." She emphasized her message. AJ is down at 6:21 p.m. Dom says, "I can't go. I'm meeting Kyle at Square 22 and then going to Trevor's." Kenzie says, "Whatever, Dom." Dom says, "Why?" Kenzie says, "We both know if you said you were taking me to the beach, they wouldn't care if you didn't go with them. You always choose them over me, but it's whatever. And Square's 22 food is ass." And then you just stop answering. "Thanks, Dom." Dom says, "They were already on the way and all that. You know I don't like being on my phone so much," at 8:02 p.m. Kenzie says, "I'm really mad. Like, you for real always choose Trevor over whoever you always choose Trevor or whoever it is over me. Like, you chill with them so much. I haven't even chilled with you during the day in like a week. Like, we could be having fun right now, but no, you choose weird Kyle over me, like you always do." Dom says, "I haven't seen Kyle in like 2 weeks." Kenzie says, "I don't really care then. You're just gonna go chill with Trevor and you're there almost every day. It's so annoying. I'm so sick of having to wait till night to hang or to be told maybe, then wait and get a no at like 7. Like, fuck this. And I'm not about to F with Trevor and Kyle at this point. Like, I swear, if you don't know how frustrating this shit is for me, and I know you know I called just now. I guess people just want to do me wrong today. Crazy. You're the 3rd person too," she says at 8:17 p.m. No response. WTF with 10 question marks. "Yeah, okay, Dom. Yell at me and make me feel worse." Oh, because she called. She emphasized her message. She said, "Like, that's so rude and immature. I told you 50,000 times today that I had a hard day, and you still decided to just yell at me." No response. "Oh my God, if you're on D&D, I'm going to freak out. You know just how to make a rough day worse. Thanks." No response from Dom. She says, "Now I get to see her sad AF because I just got yelled at for saying I got effed over 3 times. If your friends are going to bring off this behavior, I'm not going to F with them. I'm not going to F with the friends you were with. Every time you're with Kyle." No response. "Wow, you're so rude. I swear to God, answer right now. I swear I can't say shit without you yelling at me." Dom finally responds at 8:27 p.m. "No, I had a free window of time from 7 to 8, so going to the beach wouldn't work. So sorry I effed you over when I really didn't." Kenzie says, "Nice, Dom. And I don't know, I swear I tell you this every time you try to apologize. If you say, quote unquote, sorry, it didn't mean shit to me and it never will. And the fact that you went on D&D so fast is so rude. Like, I tell you I have a hard day, then I get yelled at and put on D&D. It's really childish that you're on D&D, by the way. And that just tells me you don't care. Dom says, I'm sorry, Kenzie, but I do shit all day and not trying to hear it. Kenzie said, you literally just said sorry again. And if you're not trying to hear it, then don't be rude. And if you're still going to Trevor's and you still haven't asked me what's wrong, like, holy shit. And you're probably still on D&D too. She emphasizes her own message. How do I know you were still on D&D? No response. I'm so sick of this shit. No response. So rude, she says. I'm about to not like Trevor anymore. Dom says, why? At 8:36 p.m. Kenzie said, why? In caps. Why? Question mark. Dom says, he's the only real friend I have left. That actually hits me up and asks how I'm doing. Kenzie says, did you not read anything else? Like, you say you don't want to deal with this, but it's so easy to not be rude. Don't ignore me. F me over. Go on D&D. And how you apologize, like, you know how going on D&D makes me feel. Like, why are you still on D&D? She says. So fucking disrespectful. Like, how about you effing ask me how my day was? Or ask me if I'm okay? If you don't turn off D&D, we're going to have issues. No response. What a great convo, she says. Thanks for making me 50 times more upset. Dom says, same. You're unappreciative. Kenzie says, of who? You literally couldn't even tell me you can be there for me. I can't even tell you how bad that hurt. Like, you're still on D&D, still being mean. Like, I was just trying to talk to you about what happened to me, and you don't care enough to ask. Or when I told you, you didn't even want to hear it. I came to you to feel better, not cry. No response. Oh my God. And you left me on red. I really don't know what's up with you tonight, Dom. You really need to make this up to me, because this is really fucked up that you can't take 5 minutes to ask me what happened. God. 130,000 text messages later. Dom says at 8:59 p.m., we can talk about it another time. Kenzie says, whatever. When are you leaving? She says at 9:28 p.m. Oh yeah, I forgot. You're probably going to ignore me for 30 minutes because you're always on D&D. Dom says, soon. I have more people to get to. Kenzie says, of course. I'm still not your first priority. Like, does me telling you I'm not having a good day mean anything? Dom says, I'm not 16 no more. I don't got time for this shit right now. Dom said, Kenzie says, you still can't. Like, you can bring me with you and talk about it with me. Why is talking about my emotions so hard to do for you? Like, show me you're sorry if you care about me, Dom. No response. If you care, you will make time. And you also tell me you never do runs this late. So why are you doing them tonight? No response. Why is it so hard to get your attention? Dom says, because I'm going to. Kenzie says, you're going to what? And get off D&D. No response. Why do you have to say shit that makes no sense, then not answer again for 30 minutes? Dom says, do some runs real quick. Kenzie says, you never do runs this late. Like, you never do, actually. And I don't see why you can't bring me. No response. At 10:16, she says, oh my God, why did you leave me on red? Like, oh my God, I swear you don't listen to anything I say. No response. She says, why is it so fucking hard for you to text me back or answer the phone call? 30 question marks. Question mark, question mark, question mark, 30 question marks. She says, like, you declined the call, then don't text me back. No response. She says, OMG. She questions her own message. Dom says, I'm busy. We can talk tomorrow. Kenzie says, how are you busy? You never do runs this late. Why do you keep saying shit like that? Like, what the fuck? Why can't you talk till tomorrow unless I come over early and that's the only way? Like, what are you busy with? Because every time you have runs after 9, you do not do them. No response. Okay, I'm going to freak out. She emphasizes her own message. Fuck today. You for real got me so upset. No response. Oh my God. And now you're on D&D? If you don't tell me what's going on, we're going to have an issue, she says at 10:26 p.m. You are rude as shit. You need to grow up, Dom. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. She emphasizes her own message. I do not believe a thing you have said tonight. I am about to not trust you anymore if you don't reply to me right now. No reply. You literally are such a D for no reason. You really making me regret what I let you do. I'm so done, she says. No response. At 10:50 p.m., she says, I shouldn't cry all night. She shouldn't cry all night. Shut up, Kenzie. But anyways, she says, I shouldn't cry all night. Dom says, I gotta get gas at 10:50 p.m. Kenzie said, that's all you fucking say? Are you fucking dumb? OMG. I don't believe a fucking word you're saying, Dom. If you don't answer the fucking phone right now, we're gonna have a fucking problem. You never do sales this late. Poor guy, dude. Like, I am. Dom says, why? At 10:51 p.m. She says, never. You are lying to me. No response. So you're choosing to have a problem? Question mark. I still don't believe you because what were you doing the whole time you were ignoring me? Dom says, I was being focused on the road. Can't do 4 things at once. Kenzie says, wow, at 11:01 p.m. Did you just really block me in the middle of a text? I'm so fucking upset right now, Dom. Please stop doing this to me. No response. Like, it literally kills me when you do this shit. When this shit happens, Dom, I've been waiting for you to text back for like 2 hours. You don't understand how much stress this puts on me. Dom says, you don't understand how angry you make me. Kenzie says, I just wanted to tell you what happened to me today. Dom said, this makes me want to quit. Can't just let me get my shit together. Kenzie says, you say that every time we get into a fight. And this is our first fight in so long. And Dom, you literally never do runs this late. Like, never. Dom says, if you can't let me get my shit together, I can't be with you. I can't fuck with you. Kenzie says, you know I let you do whatever. Dom says, because I need to get my shit together. Not just daily, but like my life. So, GOMD, what does that mean? What does that mean? GOMD? What does that mean? What does that like stand for? Let me look up Urban Dictionary. Get off my dick. I kind of actually love that. GOMD, get off my dick. That's what I'm going to tell all the haters from now on. Get off my dick. Okay, anyways. He says, so get off my dick and let me do my shit. Kenzie says, Dom, I know and I do. Dom says, and stop making it so stressful for me to do my shit. Kenzie said, tonight I was just sketched out. Dom says, or I'm going to ditch you. Kenzie says, what the hell? That was rude. Why do you keep making me cry? Please stop. Dom says, actually, I have a different philosophy now. Money will always be fine. Just stop stressing me the F out. Kenzie says, I don't mean to. I was stressed too. Like, Dom, you never do this shit late. Dom says, well, if you're stressed, don't make me stressed. Kenzie said, I just had a really bad day. Like, Lexi and Morgan really did me wrong today. Dom says, if I'm stressed, do you see me complaining to you? No. I wait till I see you. And then if I want to say something, I can. Kenzie says, no, but I wouldn't care if you ranted to me. Dom says, they went and chilled with Chris. Who gives an F? Kenzie says, and I'm not coming ranting. Dom says, F them. Don't talk to them. Kenzie says, well, they invited me, then uninvited me. She's talking about her friends. Dom says, I'm gonna cut off all my friends for money. Kenzie said, then try to get my mom to watch the baby. Dom says, besides like Trevor and Ashish. Kenzie said, that's so effed up. I feel like I'm being used by them, Dom. Dom says, and then I'm gonna rob them. That's what I feel like doing. I would cancel trip. Kenzie says, like, I try to be nice to people like me, then I just get fucked over. Dom says, or you want to get them all robbed? Like, be close to them. I'll have my people rob them. Whoa. This got really criminal from like 1 to 2 text. Oh, now we're talking about robbing people. Kenzie says, like what from them? Like rob what from them? Dom says, everything. Kenzie says, they all broke. I feel like we should only do that if they really deserve it, like Griffin or Jada, etc. Also, my bad, babe. I didn't really want to stress you out. I'm just having a bad day. I've been mad like all day. I hate when she says this. I really do. Because like, okay, you're having a bad day, so what? Like, it's not everybody's fucking fault. Dom says, nah, like for real, I flip out on you. You say I'm mean and all that. I flip out on Trevor. He asked me if I'm doing okay and why I'm sad and if I need help. And I flip out on Trevor for no reason. You'll be bothering me when I'm busy. And for real, everyone will chalk you for some bread or a girl, so fuck them all. I'll get them robbed first and be a millionaire. Whoa. Kenzie says, well, I don't want you to get in any trouble. And I honestly just woke up not in a good mood today. Was just one of those days that nothing works out good. Dom says, do you know what manifestation is? Kenzie says, I do it all the time. It actually works sometimes. Dom says, yeah, well, you did it today and your whole day was bad. He emphasizes his message. Kenzie says, when did I do it? Dom removes an exclamation. Kenzie says, oh shit. Well, remember how I had that really weird dream? Like when I woke up from that dream, I was confused and it was like not good or bad dream. It was just so weird. I know 100% I'm gonna have a better day tomorrow though. FaceTime me when you're about to sleep. He doesn't respond. She says, babe, at 11:50 a.m. Then she says, good night. I love you lots, and sends like a heart emoji. He says, my phone died. She says, I figured. Do you want to FaceTime? Dom says, about to smoke a blunt with 𝗲𝗎. She says, okay, after if I'm still up. She says, when you're up, let me come over. And that was on 7/2 at 9:01 a.m. Okay, we're stopping there. We're going to end there for tonight. I'll continue. We are now July 2nd. Tomorrow. Okay, so we got through all of June. Now we're on July 2nd. Yay! 2 hours later. Good job, guys. I miss doing these. I love reading these. Is that weird? I should probably ask my therapist if there's something wrong with my brain. Because why do I like reading these toxic text messages? Nobody's like Kenzie. Nobody is like Kenzie. I have learned some things listening to the. Haven't we, Alicia? You've been for round 1 and for round 2. It's okay, Lakeside. Don't be sad. We're just stopping for tonight. I promise I'll be back tomorrow. I want to get back on Kenzie. I have some documents I want to read on Kenzie too. You're so good at it. Thanks, Cree. We have more lives for tonight, so don't you worry. We'll be back. We will be back. But I'll be back tomorrow. I'll schedule Kenzie because I know you guys love it. I do love it too. It's like a little relationship that we're in. She changes her tune when she thinks Dom is going to dump her. There's just so many red flags, you know, like when she does the whole, "Oh, I'm having a bad day." She gaslights him. She creates these fights, and then she gets mad that Dom is, like, sick of her. And I don't know how they fight so bad and then go back to being, like, normal. I think it's very toxic. Um, Scoop. Okay, I'll scoop tomorrow. Yeah, I'll schedule one earlier for tomorrow. If you guys are down for the longer, I don't mind doing like 3 hours of text messages. I don't mind the long lives. I know some people, the algorithm doesn't like love the long lives, I don't think, but I don't mind them. So I can do a little bit earlier tomorrow. I have the flu. Oh no, babelet. Okay, well, hopefully we can keep you more entertained for the night. Hope you feel better. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. Thanks everyone for being here. Tap the like button on your way out if you can't stand Kenzie. So that means every single one of you should be tapping that like button on the way out. I love them. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Lakeside and Evie, again for the supers. Thank you guys all for being here. Shout out to the replay viewers. I never forget you guys. You guys are just as important. I have to be better about saying hi to you guys when I'm doing the lives. Yeah, I have a Sarah Boone live planned right now and then Corey Richin. So it might be late night, late night, late night. Anyways, please tap the like button on the way out. I will see you guys on the next slide. Bye.